We now have a generation that believes everything we did by colonising... Yes, it is true. They think everything about colonisation was wrong. It wasn't. There were some terrible things and there were some good things to come out.
Sometimes I look at this stuff and I remember why I left the UK. Because GB News I'm sure GB News should be called Gaslighting Bitches News. Let's look into what they have to say and let's try and find the good. Find the silver lining in these clouds that people are talking about.
Come out of it. And that is about properly acknowledging your past.
Education.
Yes, completely.
Sanitation.
Transportation.
There was so much that we brought to community.
Now, I'm not a history buff, but I just looked at Google, and according to Google, Plato, Socrates and them mans, they were learning what they needed to learn, the philosophy and so on and so forth, from Egypt. They were studying in Egypt. Now, I know that some of you are going to be like, yeah, but Egypt are those biscuit-coloured people. They're not African, and that's nothing to do with the colonisation. Now, hold on a second. Hold your horses. Because, also according to Google, the oldest, biggest library on the planet was in Timbuktu in Mali. Now, Mali is one of those countries of the Sahel who are no longer wanting to be run by France. They were there looking after these library books, and people were coming in from the north of Africa, including, you guessed it, Egypt. Sanitation. Really? No one's ever heard of the Moors? No one ever heard of the Moors coming into ancient Spain and introducing things like taking a bath? Back then, religion was saying bathing was bad because you're immodest. And so people were kind of like feeling good about themselves if they smelled, because it meant that actually they weren't taking a bath. So it was the Moors who had to go in there and say, look, let's not stay in the same room as the farm animals. Let's have a bath from time to time. Let's learn how to be clean. That had to be reintroduced into European society. So please don't come and say that you introduced sanitation. You didn't introduce nothing to African people. They taught you. Yeah, we brought transportation. Okay. According to Google, I'm Googling again, right? I'm not doing no deep work. I'm not going into no old school libraries. I'm just checking Google, right? So you can do it yourself as well. Don't listen to these people because they're lying to you. When you go and actually have a look for yourself, what you'll see is that when it came to transportation, the British went into India and set up the railway system there in order for the express reason to export gold and wood out of the country. They had a massive deforestation project going on in India. So not only did they deforest the place, they starved half the people, they cut the country in half and then had Pakistan on one side and India on the other side. They've gone mad over there in India. They stole $45 trillion, the equivalent of $45 trillion from India during those colonial era. Let me get my words out. They stole 45 trillion. Could you imagine if 45 trillion was taken out of any country on this planet? Like, the country would be on its knees. They've taken so much. And then they said, look, so we've taken 45 trillion, starved half your people, cut the rest of them into two, and then said, you're Pakistani and you're Indian, and created beef between the two of them. We've done all of that. We've grown opium in order to be able to subjugate the Chinese. We've done it, but that's a side project. Don't worry about that. And in return, you have a railway system. Trust and believe. I'm not no Indian, but I can speak on behalf of Indians to say, keep your transportation and give me back my money. Give me back my rubies, that big diamond you got in the Queen's old crown. Give that back. All the other things you've done, Teeth. All the people you killed, you starved. Give all that back and keep your railway track.
Oh, typical of what we're talking about.
No, I'm saying that colonisation, the empire was wrong. It was wrong, full stop. That's, the things that Britain might have done.
But that's very much through your modern
sensibilities,
you might say that, because we wouldn't now routinely go into other countries.
That's another lie. You know, the Chinese were well known for being well documented for their large boats and traveling around the place. There were black people discovered, quote unquote, discovered in America by Christopher Columbus. So when they say, oh, well, black people never traveled nowhere. No, black people traveled. And they didn't go killing people. They didn't go around killing people. Chinese people didn't go around killing people. So let's stop with this whole, yeah, well, it's by your modern sensibilities. No, because people knew back then. You don't mess with someone just because they're a different color or because, you know, they've got a different setup. Only the Europeans were doing that. And they were killing each other. They were like, okay, you're French, I'm English, we're going to fight. You're German, you're Spanish, we're going to fight. You're up the north and we're down the south, so we're going to fight. They were doing that. And then they took their murderous schemes and murderous plans and they've learned from all that murdering each other, they took that to the rest of the world. And we're still suffering it today. And now you have these gaslighting bitches still trying to gaslight people to say, no, it's just by modern sensibilities, it's wrong. Back then, we didn't know no better. Lies.
Subjugated people to our rule and have made them work for us. It was
Put yourself in the shoes.
made their countries work.
But imagine yourself in the shoes of a 13-year-old boy hearing you say that.
Yeah. Right?
Yeah.
What do they then... How do they then carry that through life?
Well,
in terms of who I am as a Brit.
Let me tell you something. When I was 13, you had the National Front boys coming around my estate where I lived, and they were trying to chop off heads. Now, true, the older brothers were protecting us, and they were taking care of us, but what we was learning was the white way was the right way, and anything to do with black, brown, you know, it was terrible. Do you remember that slogan by Labour, by Conservatives back in the day? If you want to live next to a nigger, vote Labour. Do you remember that? Do you remember Enoch Powell coming around and talking his racist nonsense on mainstream media? Do you remember, like, The Birth of a Nation, the movie coming out from long time ago? Do you remember Love Thy Neighbor?
Look, blues is music, man, and we invented it.
Oh, rubbish. You nignogs never invented nothing.
And how come there's so many famous black musicians, eh?
And what does that prove? The next thing is you've been telling me that you blackies invented buses. No. They might not have invented the buses, but they tell us whiteys where to get off.
All those kind of programs which are all talking about how much better white people are to black people and brown people. Do you remember that? I remember that as a 13-year-old boy. So please don't ask me to put myself in the shoes of a 13-year-old boy, because what I've learned from you lot is that you lot are always better and I'm always worse. And it's a flipping lie. More gaslighting bitches, you lot, all you gaslighters. No one trusts you.
We hear much more of that than we do about the benefits of that.